So good morning, good evening, everybody. So today we are going to talk about SecuriFire networking possibilities. So this is not me, this is my colleague. Unfortunately, Kurt, maybe many of you know him, but today is is feeling sick, so I'm the substitute. My name is Nicolis Zeno, and I work for Security International for the last 6 years. And my role is like a team leader for technical support. So let's start. So most of you knows already our range of fire panels. The name of our system is SecuriFire, and we cover installation from a small system to a large system through the SecuriFire 500 for a smaller and standalone application, SecuriFire 2000 for a medium and networkable installation, and the big one, modular SecuriFire 3000. So this is a range of panel, and we share for all the panel identical operation, identical detectors, and identical quality. So that means all the loop devices are the same. The difference between 500 and 2000, 3000 is that 2000 and 3000 are networkable. So 500 is only for standalone application. So whenever we use 2000, 3000, we can realize a networking called SecuriLAN, or networking for the more complex installation that is called SecuriWan. Okay, now we are going to describe both SecuriLAN and SecuriWan installation. So, as I said, 2000, 3000 can be networked together. And we can, for the SecuriLAN, we can connect together up to 16 panels. Every panel is independent, but we can connect together to share the information. And we can realize a redundant connection, because this is the must for the norms. And then we will show you how we realize this redundant connection, because there are different topology. And as well, we can connect up to 31 remote control panels. What does it mean? The maximum number of devices is 32. So it's a combination between number of MIC and number of panels. In total, 32 devices on the SecuriLAN. SecuriLAN is what you see here in green. Redundant, that means we can have a double ring. So one ring is essential for the norms. Double ring is like an extra, so you got more security in case of faults on the ring. So SecuriWan is like, let's say, a network of different SecuriLAN. So whenever we got, like, for example, 16 panel are not enough, and because the system is very big, we can realize a different networking. We can combine different SecuriLAN, and we can create a SecuriWan. Okay, so on the SecuriWan that you see here in green, so this one in black is SecuriLAN. You see we got one SecuriLAN, two SecuriLAN, three SecuriLAN with all the accessory file brigade connection, whatever. And then you see we got another ring with the one 3000 that we call the main panel. This one is like the total of this network is called the SecuriWan. So this one is like SecuriWan ring that could be composed by 3000 or 2000 panel, depending on the system, where we got one or more main panel and then a sub panel. So this one is a normal 3000 or 2000 with a special configuration on it, but the hardware is always the same. So there are not new hardware for it. Okay. And as well, we can also connect a mic on this SecuriWan. So in this SecuriWan, in this ring, we can have up to 254 participants. Okay. Remember that the main panel could be only the 3000, and the main panel does not have any ring. You know, it's like a standalone panel, and we just use for as a main panel. So means that all the connection we got, all the information we got through the SecuriLAN are transmitted to the main panel and eventually to a supervisor, to a PC with the software, and as well FireBrigade and or like Siren and whatever. So this one is like SecuriLAN structure. This one is the, I would say, ideal configuration with the loop. We got the option to have a redundant loop. That means we can make a double ring on the our installation. And this one is considered like only one system at the end. So that means that all the information for every panel are spread out to all the other panels. So all the information comes through all the systems. So it is like whenever we move from this panel to this panel, we got all the same information to all the panel. And the same for the configuration. When we configure the panel, we can spread out the configuration to all the systems. We can also realize a different configuration. So we got also different topology of configuration. So whenever it's not possible to realize the loop, we can also like work for like a free structure. So that means in this example, we got a redundant connection from this panel to this panel. We got a single connection from this panel and this panel. We can also like mesh the connection because as a standard, we got RS485 and where we can use copper or fiber optics. But we got also, we will see in the next slide, we got also TCP IP connection. And then I will explain you what we can do with the TCP IP connection. So what is important is that for the norms, all these connections should be like redundant. So in this case, the system works, but this connection is not redundant. That means if I got a fault on this cable, I will lose this one. So better thing is to have always redundant connection or a loop. Okay. So this is the SecuriLAN technical data. You see the standard connection is by copper RS485, and this one is redundant. You see there is a double loop, and data transmission is like serial. This is the speed. It is we got a protection device on side against electrical discharge, and the standard cable we use for this connection, you can use, of course, cable, specific cable for RS485, for example, Belden cable, but we can also use like a LAN cable. So if you got a Cat5 plus, that is fine. Then depending of the norms in every country, most of the time has to be fire resistant cable. So It depends of the where you use these systems. But for us, the standard it could be like a Cat5 plus Ethernet cable. Here you see starting from the sensor, and then from the loop, the control panel, networking, and then the latest network connection is called SecuriWan 2.0. So now today we are concentrating on the SecuriLAN and SecuriWan. Okay. So what's the idea behind this SecuriWan is like to create a system, a flexible system where you can update during the time. So for example, you can create an architectural of panels of 2 or 3 panels, and then maybe this networking is going to increase. Then the system is like flexible, so you can, whenever you want, you can change, you can expand your installation without any problem. Another advantages of SecuriWan, and that is the possibility to use for the connection between the panel. You can use like the internet resources or internet resources to create this connection. So that makes the system very flexible. So, for example, you can have also, you can connect also different networks from different sites through the IP technology. So you can realize like a geographical networking at the end. So depending of your needs. So what's the advantages of a SecuriWan is you can use existing networkings. You can distribute the panel in the very flexible way. You got like huge flexibility in terms of size of the system, because as I said, you can have up to 254 devices on this SecuriWan, and you can create up to 1024 logical connection, and you can connect up to you can manage up to 100,000 data points. The topology of the networking is like free. It could be like free or looper structure. We use the highest technology standard. So we use Ethernet, we use RS485 or fiber optic cables. So we don't need to any converters, to any modems. We don't need to any extra items to realize it. So that means no additional cost, no additional cables, and also like, and no additional power unit. So also there is like a reduced consumption in the systems. The protocol, this is important. The protocol is encrypted, so it is like a safe protocol. That is for security reasons. So here we see an example of SecuriWan networking. For example, we can connect different buildings together where we got different panels. We can cover large sites, for example, like campus, university, larger shopping centers, public buildings. And then latest we got also like we can cover different sites. So that means if you got company with different branch, we can make a connection through the panel using the existing connection. And so we can spread out information through the network. So just to resume, we see the capabilities of this system. So if we got only one panel, we can connect with the 16 loop up to 4,000 detector. If we realize SecuriLAN, we can realize a system with up to 55,000 detectors. And whenever we realize the SecuriWan, we can realize a huge system with up to 100,000 detectors. So that means that we can cover like a huge installation. So now let's see the possible topologies of networking whenever we are going to use SecuriWan. So here we see we got the loop version. So this is like the simplest networking. So as you can see in this picture, we got the main panel here, and here we got the sub panels and the mic, and we realize this installation. So the connection between the panels could be like RS485, or it could be like fiber optics. So multi-mode or single mode, depending of which transceiver you use. We got both available. So second topology to create a networking is the free version. So you see, we can also from the main panel, we can realize a connection like that. So this is a redundant connection like the loop, but is a different topology. So what's the main difference of in the function between SecuriLAN and SecuriWan? So in the SecuriLAN, we don't distinguish the panel in main panel and the sub panel. They are all considered like main panel. So all the events are transmitted to all the panel. When we are moving to SecuriWan, we got like one or more main panel that receive all the messages, all the information from all the sub panels. So that means that all of these sub panels will display only the events related to their system, not the event from other panels. So only the main panel receive the global events. That is one of the big difference. So all the sub panel are, let's say, independent. So sometimes this configuration is also used whenever you need to have the system like let's call independent. So you can also like switch from SecuriLAN configuration to SecuriWan configuration. Another important feature on the SecuriWan is the possibility to have like a routing function. That means we can put two different network, two different LAN with a different IP class together. So we can establish a connection through different networks using this routing function. As I said, we can also create a connection within the SecuriLAN through the Ethernet connection through internet. So what does it mean? For example, if I got like two buildings in Geneva, that is like a Swiss in a city in Switzerland, and we got another SecuriLAN, another building in another city that is Bern, we can transfer the information within through the different network. So and through the IP through internet. So what is the difference? We got like some limitation for the norms. So whenever we are able to have like also with the routers to have like a redundant connection, we can consider that connection like let's say a proper connection, because in case of fault we got a redundancy, but we can also like transmit the information through like a normal connection, not redundant. In that case, we will receive, for example, in Bern, we are going to receive information from different building in another city, but this connection is called like an informative connection. What does it mean? That we cannot consider it enough for the norms. For example, if we want to transmit the information to the fire brigade and there is a fire alarm in Geneva, we cannot use this connection to transmit the alarm to the fire brigade through this connection, because in case of fault, we will lose the connection. So that's why we distinguish in between like a normative connection and informative connection. But part of this difference, we can transfer the information anyway. So Zach, I can stop like a few minutes if there are any questions since now, and then we can continue in the presentation.
Okay, then we have a few questions, and the first one is how many panels can be connected over SecuriLAN and how many remote control panels?
So on the SecuriLAN, we can connect up to 16 panels, or we can have one panel and 31 remote indicator panel. So it's a combination. So we can have like up to 32 maximum. So for example, we can have like 16 panel and 16 MIC, so repeater panel.
Okay, the next question is, can all the SecuriFire panels be connected, or are there exceptions?
Okay, all the SecuriFire panel can be connected together except the SecuriFire 500 that is a standalone panel. So that means we can connect through the network only the 2000 and the 3000 in all the versions.
And how many SecuriLANs can be connected over the SecuriWan?
So we can connect up to 254 SecuriLAN to the SecuriWan.
And which structures can be built with the SecuriWan?
So as I said, we can have like a loop or free. So and it's like a free connection. So we can realize both, like for the SecuriLAN.
Okay. And what is the range of the RS-485 connections between two panels?
So we can from two panels we can realize like a redundant connection. So it depends of the card we use. We can realize like a loop connection, or we can realize a redundant connection.
And what are the networking possibilities?
So networking possibilities are like you can use like a serial connection that is like copper, so you can use, as I said, Cat5 cable or Belden cable. You can use fiber optics. We got a special card with the fiber optics transceiver on it. And then, or you can use Ethernet connection, because our net card got like Ethernet port on board.
The next question is there a possibility to connect third-party systems to SecuriWan?
Yes, you can connect, for example, BMS, because we got some protocol available. So we got Modbus protocol that is available. As well, we got ISP protocol that is is our protocol available for like third-party systems.
The next and the last question is a temporary lockout of a sub-control panel possible from the overall system? For example, during maintenance, such things are necessary?
No, yeah, so whenever you realize SecuriWan, from the SecuriWan main panel, you can switch off a sub-control panel, so and you don't receive information for that sub-panel anymore. So that means whenever you go on site to make a maintenance, you can work on that sub-panel without receiving messages on the main panel.
Thank you very much, Zeno. You might continue. I don't have any more questions.
Okay, good. So let's continue. Which card we have to use to realize SecuriWan with the SecuriFire panel? So we have to use all the net card, so B8 net 4. So we need to have at least 4 ports, because 2 ports at least we use for the SecuriLAN, and 2 ports we use for the SecuriWan. So we need at least net 4. In the case we are going to use fiber optic, we need the card FX4 or FX8. So FX8 got more ports, so you can also realize a mesh connection. You got more possibility. So see here, for example, we can see like possible topology of SecuriWan. As you can see, some of the connections are redundant and some not. Where you got redundant connection, you realize what is called a normative connection. That means in case of fault, we got a redundancy. Where you don't see redundant connection, that means we got a normative connection. That means we spread out, we communicate, we pass through the same information. The only things that change is the redundancy in case of fault. So what you see in this picture in red, in black, in blue, in green, it could be like Ethernet connection, copper, so RS485, or fiber optics. You see, we also like make communication within a network with different IP class range. And how we do that? We use like what we call a routing technology. So what are the advantages and the main benefits for the operators? So we got a maximum flexibility when we develop and expand the fire alarm system, an existing one, so we can expand whenever we want. So we can save money for the investment. We don't need to change the panel, to change the system, to change the cabling. And we can use existing networks. For example, if the building is already available with fiber optics, we can use that fiber optics for us. And then we got very easy management, because we can manage many different networks from one single location. So what's the main benefit for the installer? So we can receive information and we can program the system, also the sub panels, through the SecuriWan. So we got, like, let's call central configuration. We can simply expand our system using the same unit, and we got a maximum flexibility for the architecture of the systems. And we also got a full back compatibilities also through the existing installations. So again, additional benefits, we can make a modification and updates from remote sites. Customer text from sub control panels can be transmitted automatically to the main control panels. And whenever we got redundancy, we fulfill all standards, all the norms. About the configuration, we got different possibilities. So we can have, as I said, mesh networks and double redundant loops. So we got a full guarantee in case of faults. So also in the past, we had the possibility to connect different SecuriLAN together. And in the past, this possibility was called SecOnet. And to do that, we had to use a serial port with a serial card. So, and now we moved to the SecuriWan, so we moved to the network card. So that means, for example, if you want to connect two different panels that are far away each other, we don't need to use anymore external devices like a converter for fiber optic, for RS485. So we save costs, and and we save time. So so now SecuriWan is more powerful than old SecOnet. But we will see in the next slide that we can also we can still connect existing SecOnet to the SecuriWan. So here is let's say the standard connection with this is with a redundant loop. So, but only one loop is enough for the norms, but we can make also the redundant. And you see, we pass through the net card. So then we configure one panel as a main panel. And then this one will be like the panel that we receive all the messages from the sub control unit. So when we use a standard connection like copper, maximum distance between the panels is maximum 1 kilometer and 200 meters. So, advantages of this system. So, as I said, all the panels work independently. That means building 1 does not transmit information to building 2 or to building 3, but only to the main control panel. That means, for example, for maintenance, that was a question before, if I am going to make maintenance on this panel, from the main panel, I can switch off information from this building so I can work on it without passing information to the main control panel. So then it's up to you, depending what are your needs. You can use, in this case, with 4 panels, you can create a SecuriLAN where the messages are passed through all the panels, or you can create SecuriWan. So the only requirement for with the SecuriLAN, when you are going to connect them on the SecuriWan, is to be sure that you got the hardware with the capability at least 32 megabyte of RAM. So that means most of the panels only like maybe first version of a SecuriFire maybe is not suitable, but all the other are suitable. So that means, for whoever knows them already, the old hardware B5 and B8 for the 3000, the B6 and B9 for the 2000 or the 1000, and for the MIC, the B5 and B9 version are suitable to be connected on the SecuriWan. About the software, you need to use at least, so the latest software version that now is like version 2.4. So, but this function started to be ready from version 2.3. So this is another topology of connection. Here we show like also the system limits. So for example, in this case we create a SecuriWan here, and we got 3 SecuriLAN. We can also make, for safety reason, to connect one SecuriLAN instead of using only one panel, using 2 panels, you see? So there are 2 panels that communicate with the SecuriLAN. So in case of this panel fail, we got the second panel. This is another possibility. So we can have a maximum of 60,000 data points per participant, main control panel or sub-control panel, and we can connect up to 4 management system interfaces for the main control panel. So for example, here we want to integrate a third-party system. We can configure up to 4 interfaces. Okay. Another important thing to know is that the main control panel, it works like as like standalone panel. That means you see there are no loop, nothing on it. It's just the panel itself. So you cannot connect. You cannot have a main panel. For example, this one could not be a main panel. Only this one. Okay. So no SecuriLAN and no loops. Now let's see the system requirement and the limits. So the following system limits apply to SecuriWan 2.0. So as I said, we can have up to 254 participants. So that means main and sub-control panels. We can have up to 32 main control panels, okay? And we can establish up to 1024 logical connection. Okay, logical connection are like communication, connection. Main control panel cannot be a network locally. As I said, it has to be like just the panel. You cannot connect to anything else. And then we got another features. For example, whenever we said that we receive all the events on the main panel, but that could be the case. We want to spread out some events from one panel to other sub panels, not only on the main panels. So in this case, we can configure up to 64 global events. For example, evacuation events. If there is an alarm from the sub panel number 2, I can transmit this global event to all the other panels. So I can configure up to 64 of these events. As well, I can also define up to 768 global Boolean function. So I can create a Boolean function from sub panel number 2, and I can transmit to another sub control panel, just in case I need these functions. Okay. Also, we also can use external filter up to 16 external range filters that limited messages and command. Here in this chart, you can see the combination of nodes on the SecuriWan. For example, if I got one main control panels, I can have up to 253 sub-control panels. And then if I got 8 main control panels, I can have up to 124 sub-control panels. So, and at the maximum, if I need to have a 16 main control panel, I can connect up to 56 sub-control panels. Okay, so this is like a system limits of the SecuriWan. So this is the case where I need to connect an existing SecConnect network that was the previous SecuriWan, let's say, with the previous technology. I can still connect it to the SecuriWan through one panel. So so I can integrate the functionality of the existing SecConnect again to the SecuriWan. So here we see the IP addressing. So in this chart are displayed the ports we are going to use, and as well as the protocol when we use the SecuriWan. So whenever you are going to make how do you say a WAN, for example, from different sites, so there are like a router in between and whatever, you need to be sure that these ports are open as well as the protocol. Otherwise, the system does not work. But all this information of course, are reported in our documentation. So whenever we want to forward or we need to forward the information to the fire brigade, we have to be sure that we are complying with the standards. So that means even when we realize SecuriWan, we need to have a redundant connection through the panels. Otherwise, we realize that just like an informative net connection, not a normative connection. That is important to know because in many countries is compulsory. So differences between normative and informative, I explained you already, so we need to have a redundancy. So informative has the same capability in terms of information functionality of the normative, but we don't have the redundancy. What about how do we plan and how do we configure the SecuriWan? So we don't need to use different tools from SecuriFire Studio. So in the SecuriFire Studio and with the dongle, there is a special license on the dongle where we enable this functionality. So if you want to use it, check your licenses on the dongle. In the case you need to require the SecuriWan license to be able to configure it. So we see in this picture from SecuriFire Studio, we got a special menu for it. So we start the SecuriWan design, and here we place our systems, our network. So how it is made in the network. So we place the panels, and we place with the address, with the IP address, and then we place, and then we are going to configure each panel with this configuration. Then we can also define which is the main panel, of course, and which are the sub control panel. So so we can create it through the SecuriFire Studios.